Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ben Silverstein. I'm product manager at Endian. And the webinar today, we're going to talk about the secure digital platform for industrial networks for Endian. So if you're not familiar with what that is, then you're in the right place. We're going to talk about that today as we go through the presentation. If you have any issues with the presentation, in terms of you can't see the presentation or have audio issues, you can use the chat to let us know. Due to time constraints, we likely won't have a chance to get to questions and answers. But if you will ask your questions in the question box on the GoToWebinar control panel, we will certainly get back to you as soon as possible with answers to all of your questions. All right, so let's get started here. So a little bit about Endian, for those of you who aren't familiar with the company. So we're a company that is based out of Italy, South Tyrol specifically, a cybersecurity company. So we've been cybersecurity focused since our beginning in 2003. We've actually been doing a lot of work specifically in the industrial or IoT space and Internet of Things space since 2011. We're a privately owned company, so we answer only to ourselves and our customers. Of course, in the industrial space, we certainly understand the long life cycles of the products that are needed in that space in order to support that industry, usually 10 years or more. One of the really unique things about the Endian product solution, the secure digital platform, is the scalability of the solution. So a lot of other vendors in the space, get nervous when you talk about more than 100 or so gateways. We have customers using our solution in production with thousands of gateways on our platform. So scalability is a big thing for us. So besides our presence in our main location out of Italy, we've also got offices in Germany and USA. We're based out of the USA. And you can see some kind of a timeline of our progress here in the industrial space down at the bottom. We were actually one of the first, if not the first, vendor to integrate OpenVPN into our product series way back in 2005. So, as everyone knows, cybercrime is a huge problem. So this graph here is showing in just a relatively short amount of time, 7 or 8 years here, just the explosiveness of the cost of cybercrime in terms of how it impacts the market. It's almost, you can see here, the number here is almost 50% of Italy's GDP by itself. So it's a huge impact, and it's only getting worse, I think. The more connected everything becomes, the more surface area there is for attacks, and so these numbers are projected to only climb. So some pretty alarming facts in cybersecurity that most of you probably are somewhat familiar with. Industrial companies alone, 40% of them have already had serious security incidents just in the last 3 years. Of course, the majority of the incidents that you see are motivated by money. Financial motivation is the primary goal there. There's also, alarming number of the cybersecurity incidents that occur that are caused by human error. So people either not paying attention or doing something incorrectly and creating a problem for their company and for their staff to take time away from other things that they could be focused on. Passwords, of course, are always a consistent theme in keeping security strong, right? So people using weak or reusing passwords from other sites, that's a huge risk factor as well. And this number over here, I think, is kind of interesting. Almost $4 million US dollars is the average cost of a security breach for a small to medium enterprise. So it's not a negligible number in terms of the damage that can be caused these security breaches. And of course, it can happen to companies of all sizes, right? So even the big companies that have all of the money and all of the resources to be able to try and thwart these attacks. Tesla was, had a ransomware attack against them. Large oil and gas companies. Just now, actually, in the U.S., we have a huge cyber attack against a major oil and gas pipeline that's been shut down for 3 days due to this ransomware attack. So it's a tremendous problem, right? Everyone, and it can affect everyone, not just the big companies, but also the small and medium-sized companies. They just don't get the headlines that the big companies get. Yeah, so that's where we think Endian can be a solution stack that helps to protect against that. So it's called the digital transformation, right? It's inevitable. It's going to come. Everything's going to be connected. But then, how do we? What kind of solutions can we put in place to help protect our stuff that is part of the digital transformation? So our mission statement at Endian is to provide a secure platform that connects distributed people and things, enabling the digital transformation of business. And so the three pillars of our platform are secure, monitor, and analyze. So we're going to talk a little bit about that here. So this is what we call our Endian system architecture. So this is the stack, if you will, the solution stack that you need in order to enable the digital transformation. And you can see that as you go up the stack, you're going from the security components, the monitoring components, and the analyze components. So in the security components, you have things like just basic connectivity, right? So Ethernet, of course, but also you've got Wi-Fi, you've got 3G, 4G, 5G is coming now. In industrial, you've got non-standard IT protocols like Serial with Modbus and OPC UA and all these other protocols that happen over different communications channels. And then a layer above that, you've got the security component of that stack. So remote access to your devices. How do you enforce AAA, right? So authorization, access. How are you handling that? Network segmentation, of course, is another thing. So you've got different industrial network security levels, and you need to maintain those security levels and separate your network traffic in order to enforce those network security policies. Encryption, of course. So how do we keep the data secure, whether it's on the device or in transit? Things like IDS, so intrusion detection system, deep packet inspection, checking for advanced threats, things that a firewall or other standard network security tools, it goes deeper than those, right? It's able to look across multiple packets and determine whether there are attacks or other types of policy violations that are occurring in the traffic. And then, of course, how do you keep it all tied together? How do you manage everything? So, when you're talking 10, 20, 30 devices, maybe it's not so much of a concern. But when you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of devices in the field, you don't want to be making individual changes to products and having non-standardized policies that are applied to your devices. So this is the orchestration piece, right? So how do we have all of our devices be essentially managed in a secure and easy way? How do we manage the updates of the devices, right? So in industrial especially, it's a learning curve with the security components, right? So industrial does not like doing updates, but updates are a critical part of keeping all networks and devices secure. So there's going to be some learning that goes on there. And then product life cycles, of course. And then as you go up to the monitor stack, there's data collection, right? So this is for IT metrics, SNMP and WMI and things like that to collect IT sensor data, but also on the industrial side, you have OT data like Siemens S7, Modbus, OPC UA, and there's hundreds of unique SCADA protocols that are out there. So being able to collect that data and then being able to how do you monitor all of those devices out there, and proactively be able to react to them in a much faster way when things are noticeably, you have errors or things are noticeably going wrong. So that's the monitoring component, and then the last part is the analyze, which is where you're pulling all of the data together and creating things like dashboards that are visualizations of all of the data across the field, so that you can see what's going on, so you can monitor, see trends, and the goal there obviously is to be able to understand how your devices are working in the field, how to build your devices better going forward in the future, and how to react in a much faster way and provide more enhanced support services to your product line as well. And then the last part there is something I think that's pretty unique to Endian as well, which is the edge computing. So we'll talk more about this, but this concept of being able to support edge computing in the industrial space is, I think, a strong idea, and allowing you to run applications and microservices at the network edge instead of having everything kind of centralized. You can kind of choose the way in which you want to deploy applications and services across your business, and that gives you kind of an unparalleled flexibility in terms of future-proofing your network needs and things like that. So, secure digital platform. This is kind of our main architecture diagram here. So, basically, there's three components to the secure digital platform. The heart of the secure digital platform is what's called the Endian Switchboard. So this is the core component, the server component, if you will, that runs anywhere. It can be run on premise or in your own data center, or it can be run on the cloud, public or private cloud environments. So it runs anywhere. And basically, what you have is with the switchboard is a connection hub, right? So on the left hand side, you've got your users, all different types of users. So there's IT users, there's OT users, there's vendors and third party contractors who need access to certain things. All these different groups of people, they need different types of access, right? So some of them will run certain types of applications, maybe more diagnostic. IT would run more diagnostic type stuff. Field support probably needs to run more actual applications that communicate with the industrial devices in the field to be able to program them or to monitor them, things like that. So you have all these different groups that need different types of access to your devices in the field, which are the other side of the switchboard connections. So on one side, you've got users. On the other side, you've got your actual field equipment, right? So this could be industrial devices. It could be servers, computers, PLCs, HMIs, robots, everything, anything and everything that is IP connected as an IP address is something that in theory probably needs to be accessed and monitored and managed potentially through the switchboard. And you've got different ways to do that. So the standard way, I guess I would say, is using a hardware appliance from Endian to help. The reason that's the more common solution is just because the hardware provides that extra local network security to the device. So if there's not an existing network security solution in place at your remote sites where your devices are located, then the Endian device can help to not only get those devices connected to the switchboard, but also to provide that local network security protection in terms of firewalling and intrusion detection and all of those features. But we do have other options as well. So we have a software agent that you can install directly onto your field devices in certain situations, and that would allow those devices to get connected to the switchboard directly that way too, without a hardware appliance. So just talking a little bit more about those the three components of the secure digital platform. So The switchboard, again, is the central component. So this is your centralized management console, your dashboard for all of your remote devices. It provides a secure remote access portal. So we're going to take a look at that when we do the live demonstration here in a little bit. And then it acts as it can act as the secure digital platform that enables your centralized monitoring and analytics for so if you want to set up an analytic environment where you're collecting data from your field devices and you create dashboards for your users to be able to see those, the switchboard and the secure digital platform as a whole can provide that security layer to help facilitate that. In terms of the hardware devices, we have a whole product series that you don't see here. It's called 4i, so that's stands for 4 industrial. The product that you see here is the latest and greatest 4i. It's called the 4i Edge X, right here in the middle. That is the most recent one. So it's a ruggedized network security appliance for industrial networks. So it comes, fully loaded with the Endian operating system. So runs our standard network security stack in terms of firewall, VPN, Wi-Fi. It's got option for 4G, 5G capabilities to communicate. It's got intrusion prevention, network bandwidth management, all of those standard tools. And then the 4i Edge X is unique in that it's the only current product that we offer that has the edge computing capabilities available as well. So this device can actually run our edge computing platform, which is built on Docker. So that means that on this gateway device, you could run Docker containers for any of your applications or services that you need to provide to your remote sites. And then on the far right here, we have the other part, which is connecting the users. So this is we have an application called the Endian Connect app. So this is the app that users can use to access their devices through the switchboard. So it's providing secure connectivity to endpoints for your users. It runs on Windows and Mac OS X. Obviously, it's providing that secure connection through an encrypted VPN tunnel to the switchboard. So all of your remote access and remote management is taking place through a secure channel there. Additionally, the Connect app does provide for even a secure connection to the endpoint, where you could then run industrial protocols to communicate with your field devices as well. So both IP and Ethernet are supported in terms of being able to communicate with your endpoint devices using the Connect app. So talking a little bit about the different devices that we have. So on the left here, we're talking about the hardware devices that provide the edge connectivity and the local network security for your remote sites. So we have security gateways for IoT, which are called the 4i product line. And we also have our more standard commercial IT, which is UTM, which stands for Unified Threat Management. All of these devices, both platforms or product series, run essentially the same software. There's a few minor differences between the two. But in terms of their compatibility and their usability from within the switchboard, they're all both fully supported there. All the things that you see here in terms of segmentation with firewalling, you have full firewall control, VPN with providing encryption. On the UTM devices, you have antivirus capabilities for antivirus filtering at the gateway level, for example, for web and email traffic. IDS IPS is available for both product series, so being able to detect or block advanced threats, malware attacks, things like that. And then on the UTM as well, there's a unique feature called the hotspot, which is a captive-less solution. And of course, we talked about the 4i Edge X, which has the edge computing component to it. So there you have the ability to run your applications, your microservices at the edge. You could do things like fog computing, where you have a central component, but all of your data is running at the edge part, and then there's just periodic refreshes of the data at the data center side of it. So there's all kinds of different ways in which you can utilize the edge computing to advance your business objectives. On the core side, the switchboard, we talked about, so it's a fully flexible solution. So it's not one size that has to fit all. Basically, whatever you need in order to run it. So on premise, there's hardware solutions, there's virtual support for all the virtual platforms, VMware, Zen, KVM, Hyper-V. You can run it in a public cloud environment. You can run it in a private cloud environment. Basically, wherever you want to put the switchboard, you can put the switchboard. It runs anywhere. Within the switchboard platform, you have all of your security features, such as the secure remote access, granular user group permission management, your AAA authentication, authorization, accounting. There's support for syncing users across your enterprise authentication services like LDAP or Active Directory. And then, of course, the support for being able to leverage your own big data or monitoring and analytics solution running across the secure network that's provided by the switchboard and the edge devices. That's a big component of it as well. So the two primary use cases, I would say, of the switchboard, I would say the biggest value adds of the switchboard are the secure remote access. So this we'll take a look at when we do the demo, but essentially you can enable your large user base to be able to log into a central site and be able to see only those devices and locations that you've given them access to, and only be able to connect to them in specific ways. So in other words, you control the IT or the admin side of the business can control who can see what and who can do what inside of your environment in terms of accessing your remote sites. You can manage all of your users' devices in a very granular way. So, you can be as specific and as narrow as you need to be in order to provide just the least privileged access to users across your environment. And of course, the other big component of it is just the ease of use, which we'll see when we do the demo. But it's very easy. For the most part, they can just use a web browser to log in and see their devices and be able to connect to them in a very easy way that works on any platform. And then the other component is the monitoring and analytics. So again, the secure digital platform by Endian kind of acts as the conduit by which all of this you can do all of these cool things with in terms of data collection. So there's a lot of very cool monitoring and analytic platforms that can be leveraged inside of the secure digital platform that you can tie into it, basically. So, of course, in general, being able to do these types of things, being able to collect and monitor data from your field devices in order to provide enhanced services. For example, you can offer premium support type packages to your clients such that their devices are monitored proactively through the switchboard, and you're able to react to events in real time and being able to support devices remotely versus having to, a more standard way of dispatching people to go out and fix things in the field, things like that. So you're saving huge amounts of time and money on the business side. And of course, with the analytic side of it, being able to visualize and understand the data, the real data that's coming from your devices in the field allows you to do a lot of different things, right? So from a product development side, you can iterate over your products better, right? So you have a lot more data to work with in order to understand how people are actually using your products, and you can build better products in a faster way because you have access to that data to be able to see um, what users are doing with your devices and how you can make it better. So, and then of course, taking that to the next level would mean things like enabling machine learning, using artificial intelligence tool sets to be able to create a platform that's something that you could call predictive maintenance, right? So you'd be able to pick up on sensors, certain sensors triggering things that would indicate that a failure is coming or things like that, and you'd be able to react to those types of events before they happen, which would, obviously give you a huge advantage in the marketplace and provide, your customers would be obviously thrilled with being able to do stuff like that. So this is really cool on top of everything else. So of course we talk about how Endian is a security company and we create products that provide security. So of course we want to make sure that our product itself is secure, and the Switchboard solution as a whole has achieved the IEC 62443 certification. So this is a industry standard cybersecurity certification for industrial platforms, industrial products. So this includes both the Switchboard server component, central component, as well as the 4i Edge X device when used in combination with the Switchboard. So when we say it's a secure digital platform, that means that it not only provides the security to your customers, but that the product has been validated to provide to be a secure solution. It ensures, data confidentiality, identification, and authentication. This is also a great thing when dealing with trying to integrate the product in both IT and OT. It's something the Cybersecurity Certification helps to validate the product, regardless of whether it's an IT or an OT department that you're dealing with. We have more information on our website about the certification as well. If you want to see more, there's a white paper, and you can actually see this audit certificate as well here. So some of our reference customers, you can see here we have quite a few names. Some of you may recognize in different verticals. So the great thing about the secure digital platform is the fact that it's so versatile and it really applies in so many different industries and verticals. So, for example, on the machine building side, Caterpillar is a huge reference customer for us. They are using them basically inside of all of their diesel engines. It's kind of the product has become kind of part of their product essentially. So the Switchboard solution is something that's basically built into their product line. Liebherr is another one that's similar to Caterpillar. Jensen, Microtech is another one. On the manufacturing side, we have a couple customers there as well, Rifling and SFS. We're on the healthcare side, the medical device side. We have quite a few reference customers there. Werfen is a big company that makes medical device manufacturers, and they're using our platform as well. And then of course in the critical infrastructure, which is the big one, there's quite a few. We have quite a few reference customers there as well. So there's energy delivery, energy creation companies. There's telecommunications. There's all different types of companies there across the spectrum. All right, so we're going to do a product demonstration just to show you guys what the actual solution looks like. So what we're looking at here is the web client. So on the Switchboard, there's two ways to access the Switchboard from a user perspective. There's the Connect app, which we talked about, which is the software that you install on your Windows or Mac device. We also have a browser-based client, a web client that we call Connect Web. So this is just showing you the capabilities of the Connect Web client. So you can see this is the login interface of the Switchboard. So we'll go ahead and log in here. So the switchboard is a multi-tenant solution. So because my user is a member of many different organizations, I can select the organization that I want to connect to when I log in. So the first thing you'll see when you log in here, I'll just close this here. Across the top is our dashboard of kind of at a glance view of what's going on with the switchboard. So how many users are online, are connected, out of the total number of users, how many gateways, same thing, how many endpoint devices we have defined, and then the licensing information on the top right. So the main screen here is what we call the connection dashboard. So this is just a list view of the devices that this particular user can see as part of that organization. So my user happens to be able to see these devices. So these top level devices that you see here are typically going to be the Endian gateway devices. So this, for example, is an Endian 4i Edge X device. And these devices here are also Endian 4i devices as well. The devices that you see underneath them are the endpoint devices. So endpoint devices are those devices that are actually being protected by the Endian hardware device. These are the devices that users typically are going to want to connect to or be able to see things on, or manage or do things with. So endpoint devices, I think, are the core component of what users are wanting to interact with. So for example, the switchboard has the ability to be able to interact just using the web client. So for example, if I click on this Windows device, I get a pop-up that shows me some applications which are accessible through the browser. So using the Connect web client, you can actually access applications just using your browser. So the applications that you can do that for are Windows Remote Desktop, RDP, BNC Remote Desktop, SSH, Telnet, and of course the web protocols, HTTP, HTTPS, are accessible through just using the browser client. So, for example, if I click on Windows Remote Desktop, my browser will open a new tab and create an RDP session inside of my browser window. So I don't have to open up an RDP client and type in the IP address to reach the device. It's actually all just happening inside of the browser using HTML5 technology. So this works on any browser, so virtually any browser. So that means, any operating system, any screen size. So if you're accessing it you can access it on a mobile device, you can access it on a tablet device, things like that. So any platform with a modern browser will support these things. And you have a little pull down menu here that you can use to bring up, for example, a virtual keyboard if you're on a mobile device. You have access to the clipboard as well. You can go full screen, or you can close our connection here. So if I close the connection there, but I don't terminate my connection, you can see that the switchboard shows you when someone is connected. So if I logged in and somebody else was connected to this Docker device, for example, then I would see that. So I would know that a user is connected there, and the switchboard can actually be set up to prevent users from being able to connect to the same device at the same time. So that way users aren't making changes that would step on each other and cause issues with that device. So bringing this device back up, you also have full visibility to see what's going on the switchboard. So not just who connected to the switchboard, but which gateway they accessed, which endpoint device they clicked on, and even if they're connecting using an application like what I just did with Remote Desktop, you can see that they selected which application they executed. And of course, you have full visibility there. And this is you can see this, of course, on a per device basis. You can also see it on a global scale across the entire Switchboard platform. So I'm going to close my connection here. This is an Edge X device. So For example, if we wanted to be able to connect to the Endian device, we can click the web interface and it will create a secure connection to the Endian EdgeX web interface. Additionally, here we have, since this is an EdgeX device, it's actually running some Docker containers. So for example, there's a Node-RED Docker container running on this device that we can make accessible to the switchboard. So if we click here, the device will create a connection to the Node-RED application running in Docker on the EdgeX device. So you can see here Node-RED is loading up. I'll go ahead and close that out. So we can always disconnect ourselves at any time from any of the devices. Another cool thing that you can do if you don't like the list view, you can also view your connections on a live map. So basically here it's the same functionality that we have on the connection list, but this is showing us our devices as they be in terms of how they're set on the map in terms of their location. So we can see the status of those devices. We can do searching to search for a particular device. We can filter devices to say only show us devices which are online. So here you see the two devices. If you click on a device on the map, you get the same pop-up here. So again, we could connect to this Windows machine just using the map view. So the same functionality, just a different way to visualize your devices and your endpoints. So all of what you see here on the left-hand menu is permission-based. So based on the user permissions that you log in or that you set up for a user, they'll see the different these different tools that they can see on the left-hand side, these different permissions. So this user has quite a few permissions in terms of being able to see and manage users, see and manage devices, see and manage applications. So for example, just to show you how easy it is to manage, when you set up a user, it's very easy to just come under permissions and select the different types of user permissions that you want to assign. So these can be very limited as well. So for example, if I log out here and log back in with a very restricted user, this user basically only has the ability to see and connect to these devices and this endpoint. So you can see that all of the menu items are not accessible to this user. This user basically has view-only permission to connect to these specific gateways in this specific endpoint device with the application. And again, you can get as granular as you want with security definitions of who can access what when you define the user and device security parameters. So I'll log out here again. So I'm going to log in with the system account here so that you see there's a full suite of the menu items here. So here you can define your users. You can also create groups and put your users into those groups to create logical separation between them. Same thing is true with the gateways. So you can define your gateways here. You can also put them into groups to logically separate them to create access permissions between the user groups and the device groups. So we talked about orchestration in terms of the digital transformation. So there's some really cool technology with the Endian gateways specifically. So we have a feature called Plug and Connect. So this allows you to essentially pre-provision your device on the switchboard. So basically you enter the network information of the device and the passwords and things like that for the basic setup. And then in terms of deployment, the device can be shipped out. And from the user side, once it's received, all they have to do is plug it into power and plug it into a network with internet access and DHCP. And the device will automatically find its switchboard and download its configuration and get itself connected to the switchboard, create a secure tunnel to the switchboard. And then on top of that, you can use the the management center that you see here to create device profiles. So this is where you can actually do central management in terms of orchestrating your devices. So here you can create a profile that contains all of your firewall rules, all of your intrusion detection setup, all of your DHCP and DNS settings and things like that. And you can deploy all of that configuration. So you can create a standardized profile and deploy that profile across all of your fleet of Endian devices. So the plugin connect and management center provide the orchestration features for all of your devices. Applications are what we saw when we clicked on the Windows device, for example, but you can define any application. So the switchboard comes with the predefined applications that are supported inside of the browser client. So RDP, VNC, SSH, Telnet, and web. But you can define any application that you want. It's very easy to create your own application. You can specify, and this using the application to manage your applications. When a user clicks on it, if that application is installed on their machine already, essentially this will act as a launcher to launch the application for them with the parameters that you specify. So, for example, if it's a custom SCADA software that users have installed in the field, you can create that application here on the switchboard, and then when the user logs into the switchboard and clicks that application on the endpoint device, it would actually bring up their application for them. And if possible, it could actually supply information for that application to be able to connect to the remote device through just using the switchboard client to connect that. So here you can specify the path to the executable for Windows devices or a path to a binary file for the Mac. And then if the application accepts arguments, you can pass in arguments for how to reach the virtual IP addresses of the devices to the switchboard. And again, you can create groups. So groups are called profiles. So you can put all of your applications together to create a profile, and that profile can then be assigned to the different devices to be able to create permissions there. So as we said, the switchboard is a multi-tenant solution. So you can define organizations within the switchboard. Each organization is its own instance of the switchboard. So each organization will have its own set of users, its own set of devices, its own set of applications that are only available to users from within that organization. So essentially, if you're a service provider or a distributor or a reseller, you can have a single instance of the switchboard that you then sell to many different customers. They all use the same instance, but they each have their own organization inside of the switchboard that they're using. And each organization can have its own unique branding and URL. So it's very easy to go in and actually change the branding. So when you add an organization, you can actually come here and specify change the color scheme of the switchboard. So this would change the layout here. You can also upload your logo and image files to change the login page. And you can even rebrand the Connect app that users install on their machines in order to connect to the switchboard with their own logo. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, so the statistics is just more for back-end administration to see. You can see which organizations, how many devices, gateways, influence users they have, if there's any licensing attached to that, etc. This is Endian Management Center, so we talked about this being able to create a central management platform profile. So here, you select the components of that you want to essentially copy from a device. So basically what you need here is a device with a master configuration. You copy the relevant pieces of that configuration using this menu here. And once that's copied, you can then assign that profile out to your devices that are connected to the switchboard so that they all inherit the same settings and all use the same settings. The last option here is for the administrator of the switchboard. So this is where you go to do like all of the setup to set up the back end of the switchboard in terms of the networking information and the web portal, and the provisioning as well. So provisioning is what's used for the plug and connect feature. And again, you can do the GUI customization here to be able to customize. Yeah, so I think that concludes the demo portion of the presentation. And I think that's all the time that we have. So again, if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us. If you'd like to learn more, again, reach out to us and we'll get back to you. I hope that this was an informative session for everybody and that you learned something new today. Yeah, I thank you for all of your time and hope that you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. And we look forward to hearing and speaking with you as we move forward. Thanks, everybody.